Hello. It's been a minute, and I'm back with 4 lovely books that I've recently read. I'll probably do a year in review, my favorite books from 2025. Let me know if that interests you by sending me a little note in the comments. This year I read almost 70 books because I gave up Instagram, the app at least, in June, and it meant that I have read more this year maybe than ever, and it's been lovely. So thanks for joining me on this journey. I'm going to walk you through these 4 books. Maybe you've read them, maybe they're on your to-read list. I'd love to hear from you and share in our love of books and reading together. So without further ado, let's start. So the first book that I want to share with you is Kate and Frida. Shout out to my friend, also named Sarah, who recommended this book to me. So Kate and Frida is this lovely, cozy read. It will take you all of 20 seconds to get into and then immediately finish. It's about the friendship between 2 girls in their 20s, figuring out life, making assumptions about what they want to be and do, and then changing those assumptions and falling in and out of love. And it's just lovely. So it's epistolary in format. They're sending letters back and forth to each other from Seattle to Paris and from Seattle to war zone. This is during the Bosnian War in the 90s. So I found it deeply touching and nostalgic. It turns out there's also a connection between this book and the author Kim Faye's other book, Love and Saffron, which I then read after this, and I'd recommend you read as well. It felt, I don't know if there's a word for nostalgia you feel for a time you never experienced, and that's how I feel about this book. It's pre-internet. It's print material, letter writing, tangible connection and communication, and I never got to experience that. I'm on the cusp of millennial Gen Z, more millennial than anything else. I don't remember a time without cell phones or the internet or computers. I do luckily remember a time before social media, but it's been with us for so long at this point. It feels innate. This book, Kate and Frida, would recommend, and I am deeply nostalgic for this analog world that you get to experience and really envelop yourself in. Epistolary joke intended. Oh, okay. I should be stopped. My pun should be. Someone should stop me. Okay, so Kate and Frida by Kim Faye. Everything she's written that I've read has been lovely, and go check out her cozy, comforting reads immediately. Okay, this is the opposite of that. This is not cozy. It is a quick read, but it's dark and disturbing, and things aren't going well, and the main character has what I would describe probably in the terms of the era as a nervous breakdown, but I feel like is more a reasonable reaction to a husband and life partner just up and leaving your family and leaving you to parent your 2 young kids. So The Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante. You know that I love everything she's written, pretty much. I have done an annual reread of the Neapolitan Quartet. My Brilliant Friend is the first book of that series. She writes challenging, crunchy, sometimes downright unlikable characters. And that's kind of my thing right now. I am really enjoying this and leaning into protagonists that don't feel entirely likable. And if that says something about me, tell me in the comments. But The Days of Abandonment follows our main character whose husband has left, just up and left, kind of without warning, and she's left to pick up the pieces of her life and herself and her sanity from that experience. In much of Elena Ferrante's books that I've read adjacent to the Neapolitan Quartet series, you see the veins, you see the roots of what will become the characters in that series of 4 books. So they almost feel like little micro studies of the characters that you'll come to know and love and hate and root for in that series of books. So I see the main character in this book definitely reflected in Neapolitan Quartet, where I think Elena Ferrante really brilliantly captures what it is to be a woman in all of its complexities. She doesn't shy away from discovery of the things that make us most human, and those things aren't necessarily the prettiest things to look at. So, The Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante. Also a quick read. Next 2 books I read recently and would recommend. Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Howarth, Irish author. And this is I'm leaning into my sad Irish girl era of reading. So Sally Rooney I find to be similar in spirit to Sunburn. It's about 2 young girls growing up in a very small town in Ireland, figuring out who they are and their sexuality in their pretty conservative context. Who they are, who they love, how they show it to the people around them can make or break the life of any 15-year-old girl. And Chloe brilliantly, beautifully captures that for her characters. So deeply sapphic and challenging. You feel like you're inhabiting the mind of the character, Lucy in particular, as she falls deeply in love with her best friend. But again, it's complicated. For fans of Sally Rooney, absolutely read Sunburn. Hopefully read it in the depths of winter when you need to feel the sun on your skin. The descriptions of it, hence the title, are visceral. And I'd recommend. Thoughtful, thought-provoking, even I would say in the vein of a Sylvia Plath, a little less existential, a little more hope at the end of her writing. And I feel like for me, reading books like this now, which are queer love stories, growing up with 2 moms, I tried to distance myself as much as I could from content, music, books, writing that felt too different or queer or othered, because I already felt so othered in so many ways, just by nature of the family I had and the moment in the early aughts. So for the women and people among us who really wanted to read all of those kind of sapphic love stories that came out in the early 2000s and are probably banned books now, God knows, but didn't have the courage, me, Sunburn, would recommend. Okay, last but not least, this is book 3 in a 3-part trilogy, The Lotus Empire by Tasha Suri. So bear with me. If you haven't read books 1 and 2, I won't give any spoilers. You should run out and read these books. Again, the line of kind of sapphic love, lesbian relationships, but this time depicted in a fantasy context, is refreshing. Because as much as your girl loves her some romantasy, I've read, all the Sarah J. Maas books, they get a little straight. And you see the same problematic male behavior over and over again, and everyone overlooks their toxic masculinity and how they gaslight all their girlfriends. Anyway, so this is lovely, and there is gaslighting, but it's women doing it to each other, so it feels different. The Lotus Empire is this sweeping conclusion to this 3-book epic set in what I would describe as a magical Indus Valley India in the Age of Empires, kind of pre-Mughal. As you see all these power structures shift and everyone's trying to gain a foothold in this new reality as there's become a new heir apparent for the empire. Magic, love, betrayal, deep yearning, and ultimately a very satisfying conclusion to this 3-book trilogy. Book 1 is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. You should absolutely go check it out. It's thick, but we're not talking like, you're not dedicating too much time to getting through this, because you'll get hooked and the time will just fly by. So that is where I will leave us. Comment below, like the video if you want to see more content like this from me. I love doing this because I care about books and reading, and I love sharing it with you all. I'm hoping to do a year in review books, my favorite books of 2025 video coming up soon. So if you want to see more of that, let me know. Thanks.